Chapter 5. I woke up late in the afternoon. For a second, I did not know where I was. You know how it is, when you wake up in a strange place and wonder where in the world you are, until memory comes rushing over you like a wave. I half convinced myself that I had dreamed everything that had happened the night before. I'm really home in bed, I thought. It's late, and both Derry and Soda Pop are up. Derry's cooking breakfast, and in a minute, he and Soda will come in and drag me out of bed and wrestle me down and tickle me until I think I die if they don't stop. It's me and Soda's turn to do the dishes after we eat. Then we'll all go outside and play football. Johnny and Two-Bit and I will get Derry on our side, since Johnny and I are so small, and Derry's the best player. It'll go like the usual weekend morning. I tried telling myself that while I lay on the cold rock floor, wrapped up in Dally's jacket, listening to the wind rushing through the trees' dry leaves outside. Finally, I quit pretending and pushed myself up. I was stiff and sore from sleeping on that hard floor, but I had never slept so soundly. I was still groggy. I pushed off Johnny's jean jacket, which had somehow got thrown across me, and blinked, scratching my head. It was awful quiet, with just the sound of rushing wind in the trees. Suddenly, I realized Johnny wasn't there. "Johnny!" I called loudly, and that old wooden church echoed me. "Annie! Annie!" I looked around wildly, almost panic-stricken, but then caught sight of some crooked lettering written on the dust of the floor. "Went to get supplies. Be back soon. J.C." I sighed and went to the pump to get a drink. The water from it was like liquid ice, and it tasted funny, but it was water. I splashed some on my face, and that woke me up pretty quick. I wiped my face off on Johnny's jacket and sat down on the back steps. The hill the church was on dropped off suddenly, about 20 feet from the back door, and you could see for miles and miles. It was like sitting on top of the world. When you haven't got anything to do, you remember things in spite of yourself. I could remember every detail of the whole night, but it had the unreal quality of a dream. It seemed much longer than 24 hours, since Johnny and I had met Dally at the corner of Pickett and Sutton. Maybe it was. Maybe Johnny had been gone a whole week and I had just slept. Maybe he had already been worked over by the fuzz and was getting the electric chair since he wouldn't tell where I was. Maybe Dally had been killed in a car wreck or something and no one would ever know where I was, and I'd just die up here alone and turn into a skeleton. My overactive imagination was running away with me again. Sweat ran down my face and back, and I was trembling. My head swam, and I leaned back and closed my eyes. I guess it was partly delayed shock. Finally, my stomach calmed down, and I relaxed a little, hoping that Johnny would remember cigarettes. I was scared sitting there by myself. I heard someone coming up through the dead leaves toward the back of the church, and I ducked inside the door. Then I heard a whistle, long and low, ending in a sudden high note. I knew that whistle well enough. It was used by us and the Shepherd gang, for who's there? I returned it carefully and then darted out the door so fast I fell off the steps and sprawled flat under Johnny's nose. I propped myself up on my elbows and grinned at him. "Hey, Johnny, fancy meeting you here." He looked down at me over the big package. "I swear, Pony Boy, you're getting to act more like Two-Bit every day." I tried unsuccessfully to cock an eyebrow. "Who's acting?" I rolled over and sprang up, happy someone was there. "What'd you get?" "Come on inside." Dally told us to stay inside. We went in. Johnny dusted off a table with his jacket and started taking things out of the sack and lining them up neatly. "A week's supply of bologna, 2 loaves of bread, a box of matches," Johnny went on. I got tired of watching him do it all, so I started digging into the sack myself. "Whee!" I sat down on a dusty chair and stared. "A paperback copy of Gone with the Wind. How'd you know I always wanted one?" Johnny reddened. "I remember you saying something about it once. And me and you went to see that movie, 'member? I thought you could maybe read it out loud and help kill time or something." "Gee, thanks." I put the book down reluctantly. I wanted to start it right then. Peroxide, a deck of cards. Suddenly I realized something. "Johnny, you ain't thinking of—" Johnny sat down and pulled out his knife. "We're going to cut our hair, and you're going to bleach yours." He looked at the ground carefully. "They'll have our descriptions in the paper, and we can't fit them." "Oh, no!" My hand flew to my hair. "No, Johnny, not my hair." It was my pride. It was long and silky, just like Soda's, only a little redder. Our hair was tough, and we didn't have to use much grease on it. Our hair labeled us greasers, too. It was our trademark, the one thing we were proud of. And maybe we couldn't have Corvairs or Madras shirts, but we could have hair. We'd have to anyway if we got caught. You know the first thing the judge does is make you get a haircut. "I don't see why," I said sourly. "Dally could just as easily mug somebody with short hair." "I don't know either. It's just a way of trying to break us. They can't really do anything to guys like Curly Shepherd or Tim. They've had about everything done to them. and they can't take anything away from them because they don't have anything in the first place. So they cut their hair. I looked at Johnny imploringly. Johnny sighed. I'm going to cut mine too and wash the grease out, but I can't bleach it. I'm too dark-skinned to look okay blonde. Come on, pony boy, he pleaded. It'll grow back. Okay, I said wide-eyed. Get it over with. Johnny flipped out the razor edge of his switch, took a hold of my hair, and started sawing on it. I shuddered. Not too short, I begged. Please, Johnny. Finally, it was over with. My hair looked funny, scattered all over the floor in tufts. It's lighter than I thought it was, I said, examining it. Can I see what it looked like now? No, Johnny said, slowly staring at me. We got to bleach it first. After I'd sat in the sun for 15 minutes to dry the bleach, Johnny let me look in the old cracked mirror we found in the closet. I did a double take. My hair was even lighter than Soda Pop's. I'd never combed it to the side like that. It just didn't look like me. It made me look younger, scared of her, too. Boy, howdy, I thought. This really makes me look tough. I look like a blasted pansy. I was miserable. Johnny handed me the knife. He looked scared, too. Cut the front and thin out the rest. I'll comb it back after I wash it. Johnny, I said tiredly, you can't wash your hair in that freezing water in this weather. You'll get a cold. He only shrugged. Go ahead and cut it. I did the best I could. He went ahead and washed it anyway, using the bar of soap he bought. I was glad I had to run away with him instead of with Two-Bit or Steve or Dally. That would be the one thing they would never think of. Soap. I gave him Dally's jacket to wrap up in, and he sat shivering in the sunlight on the back step, leaning against the door, combing his hair back. It was the first time I could see that he had eyebrows. He didn't look like Johnny. His forehead was whiter where his bangs had been. It would have been funny if we hadn't been so scared. He was still shivering with cold. I guess, he said weakly, I guess we're disguised. I leaned back next to him sullenly. I guess so. Oh, shoot, Johnny said with fake cheerfulness. It's just hair. Shoot, nothing, I snapped. It took me a long time to get my hair just the way I wanted it. And besides, this ain't us. It's like being in a Halloween costume we can't get out of. Well, we got to get used to it, Johnny said with finality. We're in big trouble, and it's our looks or us. I started eating a candy bar. I'm still tired, I said. To my surprise, the ground blurred, and I felt tears running down my cheeks. I brushed them off hurriedly. Johnny looked as miserable as I felt. I'm sorry I cut your hair off, pony boy. Oh, it ain't that, I said, between bites of chocolate. I mean, not all of it. I'm just a little spooky. I don't really know what's the matter. I'm just mixed up. I know, Johnny said through chattering teeth as we went inside. Things have been happening so fast. I put my arm across his shoulder to warm him up. Two-Bit should have been in that little one-horse store. Man, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and the nearest house is 2 miles away. Things are laying out wide open, just waiting for somebody slick like Two-Bit to come and pick him up. He could have walked out with half the store. He leaned back beside me, and I could feel him trembling. Good old Two-Bit, he said in a quavering voice. He must have been as homesick as I was. Remember how he was wisecracking last night? I said. Last night. Just last night we were walking Cherry and Marsh over to Two-Bit's. Just last night we were laying in the lot looking at the stars and dreaming. Stop it, Johnny gasped from between clenched teeth. Shut up about last night. I killed a kid last night. He couldn't have been 17 or 18, and I killed him. How do you live with that? He was crying, and I held him like Soda had held me the day we found him lying in the lot. I didn't mean to, he finally blurted out, but they were drowning you, and I was so scared. He was quiet for a minute. There sure is a lot of blood in people. He got up suddenly, began pacing back and forth, slapping his pockets. What are we going to do? I was crying by then. It was getting dark, and I was cold and lonesome. I closed my eyes and leaned my head back, but the tears came anyway. This is my fault, Johnny said in a miserable voice. He had stopped crying when I started. For bringing a little 13-year-old kid along. You ought to go home. You can't get into any trouble. You didn't kill him. No, I screamed at him. I'm 14. I've been 14 for a month, and I'm in it just as much as you are. I'll stop crying in a minute. I can't help it. He slumped down beside me. I didn't mean it like that, pony boy. Don't cry, pony. We'll be okay. Don't cry. I leaned against him and bawled until I went to sleep. I woke up late that night. Johnny was resting against the wall, and I was asleep on his shoulder. Johnny, I yawned. You awake? I was warm and sleepy. Yeah, he said quietly. We ain't gonna cry no more, are we? Nope, we're all cried out now. We're getting used to the idea. We're gonna be okay now. That's what I thought, I said drowsily. And then for the first time since Dally and I had sat down behind those girls at the nightly double, I relaxed. We could take whatever was coming now.